Brian Maestri, continuing on the assessment of flood risk using the HEC-FDA model for coastal evaluations and using Southwest coastal Louisiana as a case study. This part of the presentation, I want to look at the calculation of uncertainty surrounding structure values, one of the important economic inputs to the analysis. The key economic parameters dealing with the structure inventory is the structure value, the structure elevation, and then there's the depth damage relationships, in which we look at how those structures, when water gets inside, what percent of the structure and of its contents are damaged. And we can either collect that information from FEMA flood claims or through experts like construction, insurance, restoration, and then also doing surveys to get at what are the contents to structure value ratios. What when you total up all the content value, what is it of the structures and where are they located? And so when water gets inside of a house, what percent of the contents is damaged? So these are all key economic parameters that go into calculating our expected annual damages. I'm concentrating really here on the structure inventory part, and as we talked about the Southwest Coastal earlier, windshield surveys were conducted for 46,500 residential structures and 6,200 non-residential structures. Now, in smart planning, we probably would never be doing that. This was done back in 2010 when this was a legacy study, but they actually drove past all of the structures. Today, we would be using more typically the non-structure National Structure Inventory database, which is in a GIS format, and it's currently used to collect structure inventory information, and it's available for throughout the entire nation for every census block in the country. And there's been a lot of improvements to that National Structure NSI, the National Structure Inventory. First floor elevation, we generally use LIDAR information, and for foundation heights, hand levels, or just looking at it from street view. Structure values are based on depreciated replacement cost, and RS means a Marshall and Swift valuation service is used in order to calculate those. And then the vehicle inventory, we basically get the average number of vehicles per household from census information. We make adjustments for evacuation, and then we use the Manheim used car indexes to assist with the evaluation of vehicles. As I said, in the days before smart planning, there was a tool that I was working with some people at IWR to help develop an IWR-GEOFIT. It's a geospatial floodplain inventory tool, because in our district, our inventories are usually 50, 60,000 structures, very large areas. And so instead of writing on a yellow tablet, you could take your computer with you and it'd have a form, and you'd look at the structure and you'd fill out information. Now, rarely would we ever get out of the car and there, so that's kind of an exaggeration, but driving, doing the windshield survey, you could collect the information and really that was the way Southwest coastal information was collected. Every home was driven by, we had contractors out there. It took 2 months, I think, for a few teams to actually inventory all of 52,000 structures. And here is the inventory shown in the GIS, and again, you can see the concentration of structures around the Lake Charles area, and then around the Abbeville area to the east. Just to show you, in the HEC-FDA model, along the menu at the top, the dialog box comes down and you can get at the structure inventory. And here's how structure inventory records look. You have a unique ID number, a category name, the residential, the commercial, industrial, a stream name, and here it was everything from the Gulf of Mexico, so we had this Southwest Coastal. The occupancy name, which is a little more specifics about that category name. For example, this residential was a one-story pier or pile foundation, so we just labeled it one-story pier. Station number, that's about its location in terms of the H&H, the stage probability relationships. The value is usually shown in thousands, so that's $99,810. And of course, that's depreciated replacement cost. In the first floor elevation, it can be shown with the ground and the foundation height separate or all as one. And in this, we just did all as one. And then a module name, and we'll talk about how those are used, especially for non-structural analysis. What databases are available? Well, probably right now, if you can get county assessor databases that has parcel shape files available, That would be very good, but that can be a lot of work, and it must be requested for the county. As I said, what we tend to use is what's off to the right, the National Structure Inventory, version 1, and now we're on version 2, which has point-shaped files available for all of the U.S. It's readily available. It started out as HAZAS information for emergency managers that first dealt with earthquakes, and then they brought it to other type of hazards, including floods. And so they developed these national structure inventories. And it was pretty crude, but it's gotten a lot better. And there's been a lot of work by the Corps to make these national structure inventories a lot better in terms of its location and the value of the structures and all those important parameters. It's readily available. The steps for collecting an inventory, I'm not going to go through this, but just real briefly, it's basically a 10-step process. You identify the structure inventory in this, within the study area limits. So what is the limits of my study? It might be an overflow map or something like that. You acquire a county tax parcel overlay. You can clip those tax parcels to the study area, convert the polygons, acquire the county tax database, match the parcels with the database. You troubleshoot. It never comes out perfect in the beginning, unmatched parcels. You add the ground elevation, the LiDAR derived from the digital elevation model. The key thing here is for the ground elevation that you use for your structures to match the ground elevation used for the stages. Otherwise, your depths are off and your damages really are nonsensical. Building footprints, so you can measure how large a building is, take an adjustment for overhang and use a depreciated cost per square foot in order to get the total value, and for that RS means, or Marshall and Swift is used. Tax values are very rarely used because remember, our values are based on depreciated replacement cost, and tax values may not reflect depreciated replacement costs. And then the follow piece is really one with a lot of uncertainties, the foundation height. And you can do some sampling for different types of structures to get at that. And in fact, we'll do that in another, for coastal Texas, we'll do a presentation on how we can execute that sample. This is just showing the same things, but steps for collecting an inventory. But instead of horizontally, it's shown a vertical, going across, so it's horizontal, whereas the other was just a vertical display. So this is the horizontal display. And you can show, all these steps are talked about as a site that you can go to get more information on that. Getting to the structure value uncertainty, it can be just as simple as you got your depreciated replacement cost and you look at an area and you say, well, you know, these structures range between average and condition relative to very good condition, and you got your prices or your cost per square foot for the three, or it could be three different surveyors. I look at a structure and I think it's worth one value, another person looks at it another, and another person looks at it. You can, whatever way, but you come up with your range of values and you get a mean and a standard deviation. And then what the model asks you for is structure value error. And the way it wants it is the standard deviation divided by the mean value. So in this case, it's the $10.69 divided by the $76.33, and that gives you approximately 14%. And that goes into your structure value uncertainty. So again, it's not just one value. There's some uncertainty based on the methods that are used. And so these are ways in which to estimate your structure value uncertainty.